My husband wanted to take his old flame as a noble concubine. He asked for my consent. I readily agreed, and even magnanimously helped him acquire 10 more beautiful concubines. His old flame, who had been eyeing my position as the main wife, was now too busy fighting with the other concubines. And I, sitting on the mountain watching the tigers fight, was praised for being a virtuous and benevolent matriarch. My husband had an old flame, a woman named Eleanor. Back then, Eleanor had her sights set on becoming a princess and had looked down on Adrian, a mere heir to a marquise. So, Adrian had followed his parents' wishes and married me. Later, Eleanor's father became entangled in a political struggle, backed the wrong side, and was exiled to a remote and desolate land. Her dreams of becoming a princess were shattered. When Adrian heard of her plight, he had rushed to her rescue. He brought her back to our home. I want to take Eleanor as a noble concubine. My dear, do you have any objections? Eleanor looked me over with a cold, dismissive air. I smiled and replied, "As you wish, my lord." He had already brought her home. Could I really send her away? I might as well grant him this small favor. He was pleased with my understanding nature. The old Marquis and Marchioness, upon hearing the news, summoned him for questioning. Before he left, he reminded me to provide Eleanor with all the necessities. The moment he was gone, she showed her true colors. If I had accepted his proposal back then, she sneered, you wouldn't even be here. He rushed to my side the moment he heard I was in trouble. It seems your position as the lady of the house is not so secure after all. I glanced at the shadow behind the window. I suspected he had left one of his trusted servants to watch me, to prevent me from bullying his precious Eleanor. But as it turned out, the servant had instead witnessed her sharp-tongued and petty side. Her image as a pure and innocent goddess in his heart must have been greatly diminished. I put on a virtuous air. Since you hold a place in his heart, I will naturally follow his wishes and take good care of you, sister. She scoffed at my show of goodwill, a smug look on her face. She went on and on about their childhood friendship, their shared memories, and how he had little affection for me. I watched the shadow behind the window, neither arguing nor interrupting. Seeing my indifference, she grew angry, and her words became even more reckless, all but demanding I give up my position to her. The shadow behind the window disappeared. A short while later, Adrian rushed back. Eleanor had resumed her cool and aloof demeanor. I greeted him. My lord, I have had the Jade Lotus courtyard prepared. I will not neglect our sister. The Jade Lotus courtyard was the finest residence in the household, second only to my own and my mother-in-law's. His heart ached for me a little more. He looked at Eleanor with a strange expression, his tone turning cold. There is no time like the present. Since you wish to enter this household, you will serve tea to the main wife. Eleanor looked at him in disbelief, her lips pressed together, her eyes welling with tears, as if she had suffered a great humiliation. I could guess what she was feeling. In her mind, she was his true love, and I was just a glorified housekeeper. For him to demand that she serve me tea, it was a great insult. What are you waiting for? Do you not wish to enter this household? His eyes grew colder. She reluctantly knelt and offered me the teacup. I did not make things difficult for her. I took the cup and took a sip. Such petty displays of authority would not harm her in any real way, and would only serve to annoy him. It was not worth it. He assigned 2 maids to her, had her escorted to the Jade Lotus courtyard, and instructed her not to leave without permission, except to pay her respects. She left in a state of shame and anger. Though he had put her in her place, he still had feelings for her. After having dinner with me, he rushed to her courtyard. The woman he had longed for was finally in his home. How could he not indulge himself? After a night of passion, the previous day's unpleasantness had vanished from his mind. She was once again his most beloved. A maid even came to tell me that he had called for water 3 times during the night and had gifted her many treasures. I knew, without a doubt, that this maid had been sent by her to flaunt his affection. I immediately had the maid brought before him. This servant dared to spy on her master's private affairs and spread gossip. His face darkened, and he ordered the maid to be beaten to death. "Mistress Eleanor, save me," the maid cried. He was filled with a mixture of emotions. On one hand, he was pleased that his old flame cared enough to be jealous. On the other hand, he realized she was not as pure as he had imagined. After a moment of thought, he made his decision. This servant dares to slander Mistress Eleanor. Gag her and have her beaten to death. She immediately knelt and cried, "Injustice." I waved my hand, signaling for her to rise. But this servant has reminded me of something. My lord is in his prime, yet the back courtyard is so empty. It is a great injustice to your vigor. I have selected 10 concubines for you. I clapped my hands, and 10 beautiful women filed into the room. He tried to remain calm. "You are too kind, my dear," he said, but the satisfaction in his eyes was palpable. Eleanor gritted her teeth so hard it was a wonder they didn't break. The 10 women were all from poor families. Besides their beauty, the most important thing was that they were all fertile. Their own mothers had all had many children. Eleanor still had her sights set on my position. Now, we would see if she could outwit these 10 sisters. I had instructed them all. They had all lived difficult lives. Now, in the Marquise's household, their main priority was to please the young lord. Whoever won his favor would live a better life. The 10 concubines all vied for his attention. He, in his novelty, doted on them one by one, completely ignoring Eleanor. She was both angry and anxious. She was a lady of noble birth and valued her pride above all else. And besides, he had always been the one to pursue her. She couldn't bring herself to compete with the other concubines for his affection. When my mother-in-law heard that I had arranged for so many concubines, she was curious and summoned me. "It is a woman's greatest treasure to have her husband's affection," she said, a suspicious look on her face. "Why are you pushing him towards other women?" I dabbed at non-existent tears with a handkerchief. How could I not wish for my husband's exclusive affection? But I have been in this household for a year and have not yet borne a child. I have failed my husband. I can only hope that these sisters can provide him with an heir soon. My mother-in-law nodded, satisfied. "You are a sensible woman. Childbirth for a woman is a journey to the gates of hell. Many women die in childbirth, and those who are fortunate enough to survive are often left with a changed body. I had no desire to go through that. The concubines' children would all be registered under my name. I would avoid the pain of childbirth. I would torment Eleanor, and I would gain a reputation for being virtuous." After more than 10 days of not seeing Adrian, Eleanor finally made her move. She dressed in a cool and elegant manner and waited for him on his usual path. But the 10 concubines were not to be outdone. They all waited for him on his path, vying for his attention. Eleanor maintained her aloof demeanor, her neck growing stiff from waiting. My maid, Lily, couldn't help but giggle. "Mistress Eleanor is in a difficult position," she whispered. "The mosquitoes are about to eat her alive." Indeed, she had chosen a scenic spot by a stream to coincidentally run into him. But in the spring and summer, the streams were swarming with insects. After a long wait, he finally passed by. She danced gracefully by the stream, and pretending to have just noticed him, she called out shyly, "My lord." He looked pale and tired. He just grunted and hurried past her. She was stunned. "My lord," she called again, not giving up. He didn't even turn his head, his pace quickening. Lily and I were laughing so hard our stomachs hurt. Our laughter was heard by Eleanor. I stepped out and said, feigning concern, "Mistress Eleanor, the young lord is just tired. Don't be discouraged." Her face was livid. "Thank you for your concern, my lady." She scratched at the mosquito bites on her skin and hurried away. Lily clicked her tongue. I thought the young lord would dote on Mistress Eleanor more. To serve another with one's beauty, how long can that last? Besides, an old flame is only an old flame when she is out of reach. Now that she was a readily available woman in his chambers, he was no longer so interested. It is human nature to not cherish what is easily obtained. For the first time in a long time, Adrian did not spend the night with a concubine. He stayed in my courtyard. He disliked resting in my courtyard. As Eleanor had said, our marriage was arranged. There was little affection between us. He was actually very cold to me, but because of my family's influence, he often had to play the part of a respectful and loving husband. He looked exhausted. "Don't say anything. I am just here for some peace and quiet." He fell asleep before he could even finish his sentence. He was truly tired. The 10 concubines were all vying to be the first to bear his son. They would seduce him at every opportunity. A few of the more friendly ones would even serve him together. He would try to hide in his study, but they would find excuses to bring him soup and try to get in. They were full of new and exciting tricks. He, with his lack of self-control, would always give in. Before long, his body could no longer take it. When he woke up, I brought him a bowl of a potent, all-purpose tonic. The concubines had not yet conceived. He could not be allowed to collapse. He frowned at the thick, bitter-smelling concoction. I coaxed him. "You work so hard every day, my lord. It pains me to see you so tired. This is a tonic I have prepared myself. If it is too bitter, I have also prepared some candied fruit." He drank it, though reluctantly. The medicine was indeed potent. In less than a quarter of an hour, his sallow face had become rosy, and his listless eyes were now filled with a tender gaze. "This is good medicine. I feel warm all over." I quickly gave Lily a look. Not long after, one of the concubines, a Miss Jiang, came to pay her respects. She was different from the others. She was my secret weapon against Eleanor. The other concubines, besides their fertility and beauty, had little else to offer. They were no match for a lady of noble birth like Eleanor. But Miss Jiang's mother had been a famous courtesan. She was skilled in all the arts and had been trained from a young age. She was more cultured than the average woman, and more seductive than a noble lady. If I were a man, I would have fallen at her feet. As we were having breakfast, she naturally began to serve him. Her slender fingers would brush against his lips, and she would then shyly pull them back. A faint, alluring scent emanated from her, making him want to bury his face in her and inhale deeply. With me there, he restrained himself. Seeing that he was about to take the bait, I announced that I was going to change and excused myself. She curtsied to me, a knowing smile on her face. The moment I was gone, he pulled her onto his lap. She blushed and said, "My lord, I have a new zither. Would you like to come and see it?" The 10 concubines were a great pressure on Eleanor. She finally let go of her pride and threw herself into the competition for his affection. He had also grown tired of the 10 concubines, and with the once proud Eleanor now so submissive, he spent several nights in a row in her chambers. She was triumphant, believing she had defeated the other concubines and was once again his most beloved, until Miss Jiang and another concubine, Miss Kui, both announced they were pregnant. Eleanor was devastated. The news of the pregnancies brought great joy to the household. My mother-in-law gifted me several rare treasures and gave me full control of the back courtyard, praising my virtue and my contribution to the family line. The other concubines were envious, fearing they would do something foolish. I gathered them all and gave them a stern warning. "We are all sisters in this household. It is best if you can bear a child for the young lord. If not, then serving him well is also your duty. You will not lack for food or clothing. But if there is any jealousy or any harm done to the heirs of this household, then do not blame me for being merciless." They all agreed. Only Eleanor was dismissive. She could not stand the way the other concubines flattered me and left with a flimsy excuse. The other concubines, who were still having tea with me, began to gossip about her. She was a noble concubine, and she had his affection. She considered herself superior to the other concubines and not much lower than me. So she rarely associated with the other concubines and often feigned illness to avoid paying her respects to me. I pruned the flowers in the vase, listening to their complaints without interrupting. Managing the back courtyard was like arranging flowers. The final arrangement depended entirely on me. I let them see her as a common enemy. With the talented Miss Jiang pregnant and unable to serve him, Eleanor became his sole favorite. He would visit her 7 or 8 times out of 10. I heard that in bed they would even address each other as husband and wife. She became even more arrogant. Lily was worried. "My lady, if Mistress Eleanor becomes so favored, what if she also gets pregnant? If she is pregnant, then she'll give birth." Lily pouted. "She is so disrespectful to you, I can't even stand to watch." She leaned in and whispered, "Why don't I just take care of her quietly? It will save you the trouble. No need. She is still useful." I was not concerned about her. She posed no threat to my position. Why would the Marquise's household turn against me and my family for a mere Eleanor? They were already displeased when she entered the household, fearing her family's disgraced status would implicate them. Her position as a noble concubine was the result of his desperate pleading. But she still hadn't realized this. She was still dreaming of becoming the main wife. If she did have a child, it would be registered under my name and raised in my courtyard. It would have nothing to do with her. Even if she refused and insisted on raising the child herself, It would only be an illegitimate child, with no claim to the title. Besides, with her as a common enemy, the 10 concubines were united. It saved me a lot of trouble. If not for her, they would be fighting amongst themselves, which would be a real headache. Eleanor had been receiving his favor for a long time, but her belly remained flat. She grew anxious and sought out fertility drugs. When the concubines came to pay their respects, I deliberately brought this up. Mistress Eleanor, a child is a matter of fate. Medicine can be harmful. It is not good to be so eager. Her nails dug into her palms. She forced a smile. The fertility drugs were a gift from the young lord. I must naturally obey his wishes. She was using him to pressure me. I took a sip of my tea to hide my smile. I wasn't so kind as to be concerned about her pregnancy. I just wanted to bring this matter to light so that if anything happened to her or her child in the future, it would have nothing to do with me. I had seen a lot of this in my own mother's household. Concubines, desperate for favor, would resort to all sorts of tricks. One of them had even taken fertility drugs and had given birth to a deformed child. Seeing me silent, she thought she had won and continued, "My lady, you have been in this household for many years and have not yet conceived. Are you afraid that we sisters will all bear a son before you?" The pregnant Miss Jiang and Miss Kui immediately knelt, declaring they had no such intentions and that their children would be raised by me. Eleanor rolled her eyes. "The young lord's children are all my children. They will all be raised under my name. They will have to acknowledge me as their legal mother, will they not?" She opened and closed her mouth, but she held her tongue. I could guess what she wanted to say, that her child would never be handed over to me. The fertility drugs must have worked. After half a year of drinking the medicine, she was finally pregnant. Adrian was overjoyed. He was so smitten with her that he even went to his mother to ask for a reward for her. Sometimes I thought my husband was a little too naive, even foolish. She thought that being pregnant would elevate her status. He thought that his mother would accept her if she were pregnant. But he had forgotten that his mother not only resented her for rejecting the family's proposal all those years ago, but was also wary of her family's disgraced status. As I had expected, his mother said dismissively, "So she is pregnant. Many are pregnant. If she is pregnant, then she should rest. She shouldn't be wandering around." Eleanor cried for a long time in her courtyard. He, his heart aching for her, promised to give her 2 shops. She had come to the household with nothing. These 2 profitable shops were a great asset for her. But she was still not satisfied. "My love," she cried, "we grew up together. Have you ever seen me so wronged? And all because I am just a concubine. My love, will you make me your equal wife?" His gaze turned cold. "You should get some rest." After he left, she stopped crying and smashed a teacup, the shards cutting her finger. Her personal maid, Apricot, was tending to her wound. She slapped her and kicked her in the chest. Useless. It must be those 2 old fools who won't let him make me his equal wife. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I have his love. When those 2 old fools are dead, I will have my day. A glint appeared in her eye. Why wait for them to die? If that woman dies, the position of the main wife will be mine, won't it? Apricot knelt on the floor, not daring to speak. She secretly sent a message to Lily, reporting everything to me. Eleanor probably thought that since the maid had been assigned to her by him, she could be trusted, but she had forgotten that the maids were all born and raised in the household. Their entire family's fates were in my hands, and with her mistreatment of the servants, they were more than willing to report on her without any threats or bribes from me. I had Lily give Apricot 10 silver taels and 2 bottles of ointment for her bruises. Apricot promised to keep a close eye on her. My own kitchen was staffed by people from my family. For her to try and harm me, she was being too naive. Miss Jiang and Miss Kui both gave birth. Miss Kui had a boy, and she was elevated to the status of a noble concubine. The old Marquis named the child Julian. Miss Jiang had a girl, and the old Marchioness named her Alara. When I went to see Miss Jiang, she was despondent. She struggled to get up and greet me, but I gently pushed her back down. "My lady," she said, her eyes filled with tears, "my life is over. A woman's body is never the same after childbirth. My mother was abandoned by her patron after she gave birth to me. I will probably never be favored by the young lord again." Seeing her so pitiful, I offered to let her raise Alara herself. She quickly refused. How could I? The child is better off with you, my lady. I only ask that you allow me to see her from time to time." I knew what she was thinking. A mother's love for her child is a powerful thing. She wanted her child to have the status of a legitimate daughter. I sighed. "You can come and see her whenever you like. I will find a female physician to help you recover. Perhaps you can be as you were before. Don't think too much. You have to watch Alara grow up. The more favor you have, the more security she will have." She wiped her tears and nodded. At Julian and Alara's 1-month celebration, the old Marquis and Marchioness were overjoyed. They each held a child and boasted to the guests, "A virtuous wife is a treasure. We have a sensible and understanding daughter-in-law, which is why we have been blessed with a grandson and granddaughter so quickly, to enjoy our old age." The Marquise's household had a thin bloodline. For 3 generations, there had only been one son. Even Adrian was born when his mother was almost 30. For him to have both a son and a daughter just 2 years after our marriage was a miracle. The other concubines all had their own thoughts. Eleanor was also staring at Julian with a dark expression. Although I had told them not to be jealous, they had all entered the household at the same time. In just 2 years, their statuses had become so different. How could they not be envious? To appease them, I gifted each of them 2 sets of summer silks and a set of jewelry, telling them to be content and to do their duty. The less favored concubines were grateful. He did not value them, and the servants would often neglect them. Only I still remembered them. What is the use of adding flowers to a brocade, when a helping hand in a time of need is so much more valuable? Both children were raised in my courtyard. My family had found me a female physician to care for them. The wet nurse's food was inspected multiple times before they were allowed to feed the children. The entire courtyard was as secure as a fortress, giving those with ill intentions no opportunity to act. When Eleanor was 8 months pregnant, she was in great discomfort. Adrian had summoned several doctors to ensure the safety of the pregnancy. But after examining her, they all frowned and made their excuses, saying their skills were lacking. "My love, I am dying. Save me," she would cry. He had even gone to the old Marquis to ask for an imperial physician, which had earned him a scolding. The imperial physicians only serve the royal family. A mere concubine dares to ask for their services. We are not lacking for this child. If she can give birth, then so be it. If not, then it is fate. He had returned, dejected. He came to me for help. I had the female physician see her, then I made him some tea to calm him down. The female physician reported back, "Mistress Eleanor's pregnancy is unstable. We must induce labor immediately, or both mother and child will be in danger. A baby born at 7 months lives, but one born at 8 does not. This child is 8 months. I fear it will not be good." He waved his hand. "Do what you must. It is fate." The female physician induced labor. Eleanor screamed all night and finally gave birth. The good news, both mother and child survived. The bad news, the baby boy had 3 legs, a monster. Eleanor fainted after giving birth. I covered my nose with a handkerchief and looked at the crying infant. Could it be because of the fertility drugs? I did warn her. He looked at the infant with disgust. She was the one who insisted on taking that damn medicine. If she had just had a normal pregnancy, this would not have happened. He handed the infant to his personal servant. "Get rid of it, and keep your mouth shut, not a word of this to anyone." When Eleanor woke up, she weakly asked for her child. The servants all knelt, not daring to speak. "Apricot, where is my child?" "Mistress," the young lord said, "you will have other children. He wants you to rest." She started to cry. She thought the child had not survived. No one told her that he had ordered it to be killed. When the concubines came to pay their respects, they all sighed. If only Mistress Eleanor had not taken those drugs. Indeed, thank goodness I listened to the mistress. The medicine must have ruined her body as well. When Eleanor had gotten pregnant after taking the drugs, a few of the other concubines had grown envious and had asked me for money to buy the same medicine. I had refused them all and had forbidden them from taking it. Eleanor, hearing this, had thought I was just being stingy and had become even more arrogant, often parading her pregnant belly in front of them, flaunting his exclusive affection. I saw her standing at the door, overhearing the conversation. I quickly put a stop to it. "All right, the young lord has ordered that no one is to speak of this. Watch your tongues. We don't want to add to Mistress Eleanor's grief. She burst in like a madwoman. What are you not letting me know? Where is my child? She lunged at me. Was it you? You took my child. Lily shielded me. What are you all standing there for? Protect the mistress. The servants surrounded her, and a few of the maids dragged her back to her courtyard. She knew everything now, that she had given birth to a monster, that he himself had ordered the child to be killed, to avoid bringing shame to the family. And that was why he had not seen her since the birth, because looking at her reminded him of the deformed child. The shock was too much for her. She fell ill. I instructed Apricot to find a doctor and to spare no expense in treating her. She had to live. Lily pouted. My lady, why are you being so good to her? Why not just let her die? I tapped her on the head. You've been with me for so long and you are still so foolish. She still has one last use. The son she had worked so hard for, taken from her before she even had a chance to see him. Would she just let it go? With Eleanor ill and with Miss Zhang no longer in favor after giving birth, and with the other concubines unable to capture his heart, Adrian started to frequent the brothels. This would not do. If he caught some disease, he would infect the entire household. So I started looking for new beauties. On his birthday, I told him that my distant cousin, a Miss Liu, had come to visit and would perform a dance for him as a gift. After so many years of marriage, I knew his tastes. The beauty danced, her face veiled. As the breeze blew, the veil lifted, revealing a glimpse of her face. He was mesmerized. I went to see Eleanor. I hadn't seen her in days. What are you doing here? I ignored her question and said, actually, after you gave birth, I did suggest that your status be elevated. After all, you had endured so much. But do you know what the old Marquis and Marchioness said? They said that the daughter of a disgraced official was not worthy. The young lord tried to defend you, and he was punished for it. I smiled at her. Do you see now why I never took you seriously? Even if I had agreed to you becoming his equal wife, they would never have allowed it. Her eyes were filled with hostility. Why should I believe you? But even if you do, it will be of no use. He will just tell you to let go of your unrealistic fantasies. If he were to become the Marquis, then you might have a chance. But that is unlikely. He has a new beauty now, and this one is not only favored by him, but also by his mother. She has already decreed that if this beauty gives birth to a son, she will be made his equal wife. A dark look appeared in Eleanor's eyes. Something she had strived for and failed to achieve. A newcomer was about to get so easily. Seeing that she had taken the bait, I left. The concubines were getting pregnant one after another. I now had 7 sons and 5 daughters under my name. That was enough. Under my guidance, the concubines no longer fought amongst themselves. They would often come to my courtyard to play with the children and play cards. Miss Zhang fanned herself. My lady, you look the same as the day I first met you, but we have all grown so much older. The other concubines chimed in, my lady, do you have some secret to preserving your youth? If you do, you mustn't forget your sisters. I just smiled. There was no secret. I had just never given birth. Lily rushed in. The old Marquis and Marchioness have been poisoned and are unconscious. I took the other concubines and rushed over. Adrian was in a rage. He slapped Eleanor so hard she fell to the ground. It turned out that since she could not get close to them, she had made a plate of peach-shaped pastries and had him present them as a gift. They, having no reason to suspect their own son, had eaten them. Within a quarter of an hour, they were both vomiting blood and had lost consciousness. He had her by the throat. You venomous woman, we saved you and you repay our kindness with this. She laughed, her voice raspy. I am repaying your kindness. Didn't you want to become the Marquis as soon as possible? Haven't you told me many times that the old Marquis is too strong and will live for too long? I am just clearing the way for you. He slapped her again, trying to shut her up. Nonsense. When have I ever said such a thing? A trickle of blood ran from the corner of her mouth. My lord, now there is no one to stand in the way of me becoming your wife. Make me your main wife. You fool. How is the daughter of a disgraced official worthy to be my wife? I kept you in the back courtyard as a plaything, and you really started to think you were someone. The light in her eyes faded. You lied to me. You said you loved me, that the one you loved was your true wife. You said I was your wife. The position of the lady of this house is mine. Men, take her to the authorities. Adrian, you can't do this to me. You were the one who begged me to marry you. She cried, her makeup a mess. You all said you loved me, that you would be good to me. You were all lying. You were all lying. He was impatient. Look at you. Do you even look like your old self anymore? She froze, no longer resisting as the servants took her away. The daughter of a disgraced official plotting to murder a high-ranking official. The emperor was furious. She was sentenced to death. She was right. After a brief period of grief, he was a little relieved. With the old marquis dead, he could finally rightfully become the marquis. But he soon found that his own health was failing. He became bedridden. He grew weaker and weaker. My dear, he asked me, his face pale. Am I going to die? I gently covered his eyes. Yes, you are going to die. You did this? The all-purpose tonic. Did you enjoy it? Was it poisoned? I couldn't help but laugh. Of course not. I am not as foolish as Eleanor to poison someone so openly. But you know that medicine can be poisoned, don't you, my lord? You relied on that medicine to indulge yourself day after day, and you have exhausted your life force. And the food you ate at the other concubines' courtyards. Many of them contained ingredients that react badly with the tonic. The dosage was small at first, so it wasn't noticeable. I just increased it recently. Of all the women in the back courtyard, the only one who didn't participate was probably Eleanor. His eyes widened, and he made a series of gasping sounds. What did I ever do to you? He had a final burst of energy and questioned me. It is normal for a man to have a few wives, you jealous woman. I burst out laughing. Who would want a rotten cucumber like you? You were in my way. I never wanted you. I wanted this entire household. His last breath left him. His eyes were wide open, staring at the canopy of the bed. At his funeral, I fainted several times from grief. When I came to, it was time to carry the coffin out. I wailed and threw myself at the coffin. My husband, don't leave me. Lily and the other concubines held me back, also crying. My lady, you must be strong. The entire household depends on you. I was only 25, but I was now the old marchioness. The emperor, moved by my deep affection, named me a second-rank noble lady and bestowed upon me a plaque that read, virtuous and loyal. My mother came to see me, her face full of relief. You are doing well. I can rest easy now. The children were playing in the courtyard and the concubines were embroidering under the veranda. It was not bad at all. Epilogue. My father was a philanderer. He had many wives and concubines and would often bring other women home. My mother couldn't handle it all. Sometimes I had to help her. Later, she fell ill. She was afraid to see a doctor. She said it was a woman's illness, that she would be shamed if anyone found out. I knew it was my father who had infected her. I found a talented but ostracized female apprentice at a pharmacy, invested heavily in her training, and made her one of the few female physicians in the dynasty. She cured my mother's illness, and then came with me to the Marquise's household. I had asked my mother if our lives would be better if my father were gone. She had shaken her head. It would be useless. If your father is gone, there are still your uncles. With your father here, he can still protect us from the clan. If he were gone, we, a widow and an orphan, would be eaten alive. So I carefully chose a noble family with a thin bloodline. The Marquise's family had only had one son for 3 generations. Because the old marchioness was a jealous woman and would not allow her husband to take any concubines. When I first married Adrian, I had thought of living a good life with him. I thought he would be like his father and not take any concubines, that he would be devoted to his wife. Until Eleanor appeared. Then I knew that he was just like my father. The old marchioness, who would not allow her husband to have any concubines, was more than happy for her son to have many. She even praised my virtue and generosity. So hypocritical. And the old marquis was no better. I had seen him secretly eyeing the concubines in the courtyard several times. After that, I had ordered that, except to pay their respects, the concubines were not to wander around the courtyard. His women were relatively obedient. They probably realized that he was unreliable, that it was better to please me than him. Now that the old marquis, the old marquioness, and Adrian were all gone, The concubines were much more relaxed, tired of being cooped up in the household. They started to experiment with food. Miss Zhang smiled at me. My mother loved to make snacks. Her dream was to open a small restaurant after she was free, but she never got the chance. Tears welled in her eyes as she spoke. That is no difficult matter, I said, and with a wave of my hand, I had one of the family's profitable shops converted into a snack shop. The plaque from the emperor was also placed in the shop so no one would dare to cause trouble. The snacks the concubines made were sold in the shop and the profits were divided among them. With their own income, their lives became much more comfortable. And so it was. It was good.